Hey, Jay here. Oh, well, that was a good start. Okay, let's talk about this. So this is the Torso S-4. There's a lot I want to say about this thing. It's awesome. It's the short version of it. I don't actually know where to begin. I guess I would begin with the fact that I didn't really know what this thing was when I started. It seemed like it was a granular effects box or a granular sample player or something like that, where you could, have samples and then you do some granular stuff on top. But I don't know if you could see there, but most of what I was doing there wasn't related to granular stuff. There is some granular tools, but there's a lot more to it. So what I thought I would do is I would start with this track and just sort of break apart what I did with each thing. So let's just do one at a time, and this will hopefully give you an idea of what it does. So first we have this. So you can hear this is both rhythmic and melodic. It's got a percussive kind of quality to it. Let's go to track 1, and you can see that it's got a waveform in there. The original waveform was 138 beats per minute. This is something I took from the sample pack that the Patreon community created last year sometime. Let's hear the original, actually. Let's see if we can get rid of all this stuff for a second. And this, and probably this and this as well. So here's the original. So you can hear it's just a percussive thing. It has no notes in it, no notation stuff. So the first thing that you can see is that even though it was recorded in 138, I've got it turned up to 150 beats per minute, and it just stretches it as you would want it to. So as I speed up and slow down the tempo, you'll see that it remains tempo matched. You'll notice that. So it stays fitting the beat the whole time. However, it's going to change the pitch. Now, you're not doomed. You can actually manually change the pitch over here. So let's turn this up. I don't know what it... So notice that, so this is the second device here. So the first one is like a tape player. The second device here is a granular player, but honestly also works to set the pitch to whatever you want. So if you go in here to your pitch options and go to chromatic, you can now just select any individual pitch that you would want. And that's okay. So I tend to use the granular player as a way of adjusting pitch and adapting it that way. It's got some cool features in here. So a few things here. It's very 3D sounding or very stereo sounding. Here's the original. You can hear it's mainly up the center. You hear this is very stereo. So to do that, they've got the spray option, and if you just basically turn it anywhere past 0, it's going to start really getting a lot more volume, or getting a lot more stereoized. So that's super useful. This is a granular player. It's not my favorite granular machine. So in theory, you could use it as a, I don't know, let's do 50-50 mix here. Okay, and then we will turn up the pitch an octave or something. So if you wanted to do it like in a traditional mutable instruments beads way or something, you could do it like this. And you can change the shape. If you move the contour to the left over here, as you can see here, that's going to make it very, the initial part of the wave pretty sharp. So like the attack will be quick, kind of like a sawtooth, if you want to think of it that way. Right in the middle sounds like it's a triangle, and then this way is going to be even more delayed. So this tends to be a really fun way to make really percussive sounds. So if we turn it back up to 100%, let's bring this down to 0 again. You kind of hear here, it just sounds like it's changing the pitch. But it is really running granules. So if you move the contour here further to the left, you'll hear the granules become really percussive. And if you shorten this down, that's pretty cool. So you can hear that it really, really changes it. So as a granular player, it's all right. I don't know. I wouldn't reach for this device if you need a granular synth. Where the magic comes is the combination of all these engines. Now, the second engine here is, it looks like a filter. It's not a filter. It is a resonator, so it's like Mutable Instruments rings, only it's polyphonic, or not polyphonic exactly. You can set it to chords rather than to a single note, so when it rings out, it'll be multiple notes at once. You can also set it to a single note or to octaves or fifths or whatever else. Here I've got it set to the minor scale. That might be a little bit hard to read. And you'll notice that I have the decay up a little bit. Let's take the decay all the way down, and we'll take the wet all the way up. At first, you shouldn't even really notice it very much. But notice that when I bring in the decay, now the resonator is going to start to ring out a little bit. And you'll hear those, at first, this kind of metallic, kind of striking quality. And if you go longer, these more bell type tones, longer still. We're getting into these really pretty So notice the notes it's choosing are from this particular scale. You can set the scale through this pitch thing here. So if it was in the wrong scale, you could So I've got it just one semitone up to match the rest of the song. It's a nice sound. It's just beautiful. When you really do this, then you get this really high frequency stuff. If it's too high frequency, it is a traditional filter in some ways, so you can just bring the filter cutoff down. Really nice quality there. A lot of these engines have a second page. So on the second page of the Granular, you've got some random stuff and detuned stuff here. On the second page of the Resonator, you've got the magic, which is this waves and noise. So noise just sounds really cool, especially when you turn up the rate. You just get this kind of chiming, ringing belly kind of quality. Melodic rain. Incredible. Oh, unbelievable. Very, very nice. And then you've got this waves thing. Let's bring this down for a second. Waves introduces an oscillating wave, sort of like a comb filter a little bit, but like as you turn it up, it tightens the bands and increases the amplitude at the same time. You'll see here. Let's open this up more just so you can see the waves a little bit better. See how it's rippling, waving back and forth as you get to higher and higher amplitudes. The waves get bigger. And then when you get into these really high ones, notice that the bands get smaller. And then when you add a little bit of noise, in and of itself, this is beautiful stuff. And you can set how quickly it's waving through. Wonderful stuff. Okay, next page here. We should just turn a lot of this off. Let's try and get this back to... I have no idea where the original was. You know what? There's an easy way to do this. Let's load up the project again. Okay, and then we'll just put on that again. And now we've got our noise page or color page. I think it's called a color box or something like that. Let's see. I can probably find out by doing this. It's called deform. So this is drive, saturation, it's compression, which is really, really useful, especially when you start to really change the sound and it'll really affect the volume. You've got noise with some noise control, like to shape where the noise is popping into your mix, and sample reduction, bit reduction. I think it sounds more like bit reduction to me here. And then sort of a tilt EQ that you can sort of shape how this stuff pops into the mix. So overall, you can take it from something that's really clean and bright and shimmery. Let's turn these off as well. Okay, they are good. Oh wait, whoops. There we go. Here's with it off. Here it's clean, a little bit quiet. So crank it up. Warms it up. Evens out the dynamics. The noise and the crush actually really add a lot. I think maybe another sound that's more like a pad will be easier to demonstrate that. So I'll do that in a second. And then the last page here, I'm just going to load this one more time. The last page here is the, what do they even call this? It's time-based effects, which they call VAST. So you've got a delay on one side with a few options in the type of delay you get in terms of spread. You can do a phase shift, a ping pong, or a diffusion. I honestly don't find that these are all that different so far. They don't sound that different to me, even though diffusion should be really, really different. Ping pong, obviously, you can really hear it, but the phase shift and diffusion aren't quite as dramatic in their range. But you've got a delay. The delay is fine. You've got a reverb. The reverb sounds pretty good. The main problem with this page is that as you turn up both delay and reverb, you will find that even well before you get to 50%, you start to feel the volume ducking in the original sound. I do wish it were only additive. I don't wish the volume were starting to duck on the clean sound as the reverb and the delay come up. At least not until you hit 50% or something, right? I feel like it should be 1-to-1 until then, which is a bummer. But it's not a big deal if you're when you're in a larger performance. It's only if you're playing a single instrument. Like, let's see if we can actually make this happen. So let's take this out. So it doesn't just turn the reverb up, it also turns the clean signal down. It feels like, let's see if I can usually feel it more on the delay. Yeah, see, somewhere around 25%. So it's not a huge deal, but it is enough that it kind of like, I don't know, twigs my ears in a way I'm not a huge fan of. So yeah, all of these engines together, that's where the magic comes from this. So I started from this very simple percussive thing. And then through time stretching, a little bit of granular work for stereoizing, some resonator like mutable impedance rings, some color, saturation, and so on, and some time-based effects, we get to a really, really radically different place. So that's what I love about this box, is that you start one place and then you end up somewhere really quite different. Just sounds beautiful. Let's go to the second instrument here, which is just some drums of mine. We should talk about this first quickly. So on this mix page, as of the 2.0 firmware, you can trigger things to start and stop according to on the beat. And this is huge because what it means is that you can drop in sounds when they're supposed to drop in, and it doesn't just mute it when they go away. So if we start this again, or let's just do a full stop here, you still get the effects ringing out. So it takes away the audio playing on the tape machine, but at least you get the effects and everything ringing out, which is really, really beautiful. All right, drums. Let's get rid of that. So you can see this is a 16-bar loop. Again, totally time stretches. This one's actually at 150, but even if it wasn't, it would stretch it to 150 where it's supposed to be, which is really, really great. Again, I've got the grains, the granular stuff up at 100%. So I'll show you with and without. It does sound a little bit different. So So there's a little bit of difference when the grains are playing back. But what's really cool is that you can start to, if you have the wet at 100%, you can start to shape your drum sound really quite differently thanks to the granular engine. So instead of using it as a granular engine, I'm using it as like a performance effects thing. I'll show you what I mean. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bring the contour down, so it'll be these really sharp grains at the front, so really short attack. I'll bring the size down so that the grains are small, so you'll hear some gaps in between the grains, and then I'll bring the spray up at some point to really stereoize it. I'll use the warp to start grabbing from different places on the tape, and I'll use pitch in order to pitch the granules up and down. I'm going to hold the temp button here. This pattern feature works best when you have it set to fifths and octaves or in a specific scale or something. I might have this in chromatic. Let's see. No, I have it in fifths. So now when you do this pattern thing, it's going to jump back and forth between different notes, different pitches, and create some really interesting sort of varieties. And what do I want to say here? It's really cool when you use it in conjunction with a lot of other stuff. It doesn't work so well when you need the pitch to be a certain place to begin with, but when the pitch is at 0, as it is here, and you use pattern, you start to get really neat things. Especially okay, so I should also mention another thing I'm using a lot here is TEMP. This is the opposite, the inverse of control all on an Electron device, and I actually far prefer it because I never delete or get rid of my stuff by accident as I'm working here. I wasn't sure about this idea at first, but I love it. You hold temp, you mess with whatever. And then you let go, and it just goes back to where it's supposed to be, as it should. It's amazing. Okay. So this temp button is incredible. So what else? So one of the things I have going on here is that when I'm performing the drums, I'm just speeding them up and slowing them down. I'm changing these contours to get them really percussive. When we get over to the next engine here, this is where some of the magic comes in by having this device set to have the resonator on, right? So again, without the resonator on, you can hear a little bit of the pitch is starting to be included when the wet's up to 100%, but because it's not ringing out much, because the resonator's set really, really low, you barely hear it. But once you increase the decay, then the magic comes out on this device. You can hear these drums are now pitched, and they're not only pitched, but because I've set up the pitch across tracks, they work together with the other instruments. Oh my God. I could never create drums like this without it. This sort of having a resonator on drums in order to reaffirm or to solidify the tonal quality of the song, it's huge. I don't know. I just really, really love it. And there's nothing else I have that can quite do this. I mean, I have some other instruments like the Menke Wingy where you can kind of put in some notes. I should maybe think about using it or trying it in this way, but this is incredible. This is just like, you just get to really, really special stuff that you wouldn't normally otherwise. And then when you really fully turn things up, you just get all these weird qualities to it. You can, again, holding the temp button, you can start to play with your scale or your pitch if you really want to get wild. And then with the temp button, you just let go and you're back, which is amazing. All right, let's go to the third track just to show you another sort of musical use of this. So in this case, the original sound was really, really quite different than what I ended up using. So we need to turn those off and get to this one. Here's the sound that I have. It's a really nice, pretty pad thing. Really nice and slow. You can hear there's some notes hidden in there. And when I hit stop, you can tell I have the time-based effects on. So lots and lots of reverb on this one. Sounds great. Okay, so what's going on here that makes this one interesting? So this one is a big, long pulse stretch render that I used. I was using it for completely unrelated reasons. And then in this song, I got 2 tracks in. I was like, I want something a little bit longer that really lingers or fills up the space. And so I went to this, but then I just cut it down to the first 16 bars and then used the pitch here to pitch it to the correct location with an octave higher. So I think, let's see, yeah, 2 octaves higher. Yeah, so let's remove some of the stuff. So let's remove the resonator. Let's remove the noise. We'll leave the reverb on for now. So without resonator and noise and the ring modulator, this is what we have. Just a nice deep pulse stretched piano. Sounds nice. But what's cool is that if you add in a little bit of the granular at 2 octaves higher and with a little bit of the stereo spray, a little bit of warp so it's grabbing at different points, and you start to get this really nicely shimmery kind of sample. So I like that, but it was too distinct. It was too clear what all the elements were. So that's why I used the resonator, turned the decay way up on the resonator, again, set it to the minor scale. And then once this is way, way up, it sort of smooths out or blends the whole thing into a single sound. Without. With. And then some compression. Let's show the noise on this one. So I don't find that you need too much noise. Sounds really pretty. But what's cool is this noise tone. So you can get it to fit a little bit better in the mix. It's a little tapier. Crush will start to degrade the signal in really nice ways. That's another kind of noise. I mean, you can go really wild with this if you want. Sounds really, again, pretty great. I just find it adds some texture and some high end that I find very, very appealing. Now, this track actually didn't have noise or crush on it originally, but now that I'm hearing it, I'm thinking that sounds really good. So I actually think I'm going to add that later on before I do the final performance. And then this one, of course, has lots of reverb to really spread it out. And so again, that's how you start at this really, really simple kind of sound. And then as soon as you add in the components, really lovely stuff. It's amazing. The last track here, main thing I'm showing off here is the time stretching stuff. So again, I wanted something here that did a little bit more, had a little bit different variety. So I tried to find something with some different chords. Again, I'm relying on the sample pack that the Patreon community created last year. This was something that started at 90 beats per minute. And then I had to substantially speed it up to make it work with this track. And then I think I had to change the pitch quite a bit, but I can't remember how I did it. I'm trying to look through here. Maybe it was mainly through the Resonator, it's looking like. Let's see here. Nope. I know. There we go. Notice it's going backwards on this one. Here's the original pitch. So I changed the pitch by what? Just a little bit, a couple of semitones. And that's all it needed. And then the Resonator, again, is adding in a little bit of that bell kind of quality so that it really emphasizes being in key with everything else. And then a little bit of the compression again. And then what is this? This one doesn't even have anything on the delay or the reverb. This is just mainly being affected through the Granular changing the pitch and the Resonator emphasizing that pitch. You can see a little bit of the high-end frequencies have been rolled off just to make it nicer. Okay, so I hope I've convinced you of why this thing is so useful and interesting. What do I want to say in the short version? It's like, it's a really good playground for audio loops. So it works fine for one-shots, but where the magic really comes is taking a bunch of looped audio tracks, putting them together, matching their keys or pitches and ways, finding some new sounds through the Resonator, and then performing the whole thing. things that I wish, or things that are sort of semi-incomplete for me, is that 4 tracks is amazing, but you can see that a lot of these songs would feel bigger, better, whatever, with a bass. So I think that I'm going to have to sync this thing with another device eventually. Something like the Octatrack would probably be a very obvious pairing, but really what it needs is some synths or some sort of more traditional sounds to go with it. Either that or just 8 tracks like this would be really cool. And then you just feed it your own sample food and really have fun. What else do I want to say? One of the really nice features is this USB out. So having USB, it's a multi-track USB out. So you just plug this right into the computer, and depending on the DAW you're using, it will recognize that there are 10 different inputs. The first 2 inputs are the stereo output pair, and then tracks 3 to 10 are all the stereo pairs for the devices, tracks 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. So you get all of the individual tracks if you want to multi-track it and then edit and affect things later on, which is great. I mainly am treating this like a sketchbox and having fun with it, not trying to think about attaching a bunch of other things to it, because that would really slow me down. So instead of trying to create one song, I've just been sketching and sketching. You can see that I've got at least 7 different projects here that I've been developing over the last week and a half, something like that. And that's enormous. Like, I've done all that with relatively little effort, just me sitting around on my couch playing it after the end of a long day. I do wish it were battery powered. It's not battery powered. It would make a big difference for me. I know you can just plug in a USB battery or whatever, but it's a small thing that makes a big difference to me. Yeah, overall, really, really having a really fun time. I hope I've sort of shown you how and why I think this thing is so compelling. That's all I really need to say here. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Yeah. Have a good day. Hope this was useful. Take care.